Welcome to the NTEB Prophecy News Podcast with your host and Bible teacher, Jeffrey Greider. Rightly divided, dispensationally correct, and standing on the authority of the King James Holy Bible. This program is brought to you by NowTheEndBegins.com.
And good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to this edition of the Prophecy News Podcast. Today, President Trump may be looking for the exit ramp as he cancels his own 48-hour deadline for Iran to reopen the Straits of Hormuz. For days now, the rhetoric coming out of Washington had all the markings of escalation. President Donald Trump issued a hard 48-hour ultimatum to Iran: reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face devastating U.S. strikes on critical infrastructure. Now, the language wasn't vague. It was direct, forceful, and absolute. And now, that deadline has come and gone and has quietly turned into a 5-day deadline, with the White House desperately trying to sell it as a win, which it absolutely is not. It is hesitation, uncertainty, and sadly, weakness. James 1:8 says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." Instead of action, Donald Trump extended the timeline, paused the military strikes, and began talking about productive conversations. Well, that's not a follow-through. That's a pivot. And it's not a subtle one. Let's say it plainly. This is exactly why critics of Trump have begun branding him Taco Trump. Taco standing for Trump always chickens out. Now, on multiple podcasts over the last couple of weeks, I have already stated clearly that this war was not going in Trump's favor. The early signs were there for anyone willing to look. Iran was not backing down. Regional tensions were spreading, global economic pressure was mounting, and the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical checkpoints on the face of this earth, remained under constant threat. I said then that Trump looked like he and Hegseth were in over their heads, and what we're seeing now only reinforces that assessment. This is not a controlled situation. This is not a clean show of strength. This is a leader who issued a red line, like Obama with Syria, and is now stepping away from it under pressure. Well, you can absolutely be certain of one thing. Tehran is not interpreting this as diplomacy. They are interpreting it as hesitation. And in the Middle East, hesitation is not neutral. It is seen as weakness. When the United States threatens obliteration and then delays action, adversaries recalibrate. They test further. They push harder. And that increases the chance of a much larger conflict down the short-term road. The news is changing by the minute today, and we bring it all to you here on the Prophecy News Podcast. Let's go to the Lord in prayer and ask for His blessing on today's program. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for waking us up today. Thank you for the food on the table, the clothes on our back, and the roof over our head. We're glad and we're grateful. And today we pray for lost souls. CJ needs to be saved. Scott Saber and his wife Kelly. Catherine A. for salvation. Larry needs to get saved. Marlena's family, Kaylee, Brantley, Easton, Veronica, Derek, and Andy. Beverly for son Matthew. Rita for son Dan. Daniel Rye for parents Ray and Bernie. Megan Pepper for her 90-year-old mother Carolyn. Renee, Amar, Christina Kay's husband David. Charmaine for sister-in-law Michelle, her husband Jason, and their children Lee and Robin. Manaz Sadeghi for his 87-year-old Iranian mother Farhang. Michael Bake for David, Jason, Chris, Eric, Noah, Jake, Ralph, Samuel, and Johan. Ronnie Hogan for lost family Crystal, Trent, and Kennedy. Anja for Hanu, John, Charles, and Anna Lilsa. Hap Nightingale for his sons Jimmy and Zach, Eric, Brian, Huey, for his parents Anna and Norillo, Carol from Georgia for her sister, Stacy Bunton for her husband, Mary Ann Ellie's children, John and Marie and Christine, and grandchildren, Sophia, Jacob, David, and Katrina. Jose De La Rosa's mom, Alicia. Cassandra for husband, Todd, and for children, Nathan, Andrew, and Sonny. Heather W. for daughter, Sophia. Deborah Mack for John and Brenda. Shaylin for her children, Chelsea, Tori, Chris, and Lee. Jan Lacker's son, David. Cheyenne for Terry C., Melody, Ethan, and Haley. Marshall and Memphis need to be saved. Phyllis T. for her husband. Brian A. Robbins. And Lulu's son-in-law and grandson for salvation. Let's go to the Mission Critical list and see what we have today. At the top of the list, we have a praise report. 3 years ago, on her way to an NTEB camp meeting, Kelly Hollowell, she runs our 501c3 donation program. She had an accident. She shattered her left arm in multiple places and obviously was not able to come to the camp meeting. She has had multiple surgeries, and today she tells us the surgery to remove the hardware from my left arm that was shattered 3 years ago has met with a great success. Thank you, everyone in our NTEB family, for praying. Very happy to hear that wonderful praise report, and you're very welcome. Wes, please keep my daughter Angela and family in prayer. She told me on Sunday that she has cancer, and my heart is broken. Casey De La Rosa, my younger brother is on the USS Bainbridge in the Middle East with the USS Gerald Ford Carrier Group. His name is Rob. He is not saved. Please pray for him. Also, please pray for all of our servicemen and women and their families. And we're very happy to do that. We love our active duty servicemen and women. We love our veterans, and we are keeping you guys covered in prayer. Donna Lynn has multiple health conditions, brain tumor, lung cancer, blood clot in lungs and legs. Please pray for her. Haiti Karina has panic and anxiety attacks. Jessica, please pray for new life in Christ and recovery from addiction, and she needs a job as well. Maddie Luck has Lewy body dementia, and her daughter Michelle has neuropathy and fibromyalgia. And the following people need healing from addiction, and they need to be saved: James, Teresa, Lisa, Mac, Ann, and Layla. Let's go to the chat room and see what we have. We've had a problem today. If you're watching this podcast, we normally do them live. We have had a huge problem with our live restreaming software, and we are not doing it live, and we apologize for that. But we're going to give you all the content we would have given you anyway. Shar, please pray that I have a good Bible study with the ladies at the nursing home this morning. And it's afternoon. She's already had that, or maybe she meant the afternoon. So please pray for Shar with her ladies nursing home outreach ministry. And with that, it is time to get started with the podcast today. We have so much to talk about. There's so much going on. You know what I thought would be fun to do? A couple of weeks ago, I played that Epstein Files version of Edelweiss, and everyone had a good time with that video. If you enjoyed that, well, you'll enjoy this. Today, we are looking at Donald Trump inexplicably and suddenly, without warning. He has canceled his red line with Iran, and the 48-hour deadline that he gave them is now a 5-day deadline, and he is talking about ending the war in the Middle East. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with all the unbelievable return fire that Iran has been giving over the past 72 hours. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. Check this out.
Give it to me straight, 'cause I'm not amused. What's the story with that Strait of Hormuz? Is it blocked? Boats stopped? Can the ships go through? When you bomb Iran, who knows what they'll do? But sir, no sir, we had all told you, showed you graphs and charts, telescripted to poke a sleeping bear. To get his honey will cost the whole world lots of money. I know boats and I know the sea. Why is everybody staring at me? it had to be done, and I was the man. Remind me, folks, was it Iraq or Iran? The Strait of Hormuz. I got nothing to lose. My guy with the booze will surely defuse. The Strait of Hormuz. I wish there were clues after lighting the fuse. I just couldn't refuse. Stop the histrionics, tell me my fate. Can I sail the boats through another gate? Can I detonate mines with disposable men? Cause I wanna make this strait great again. But sir, no sir, there's just no other way. All the ships bringing goods can't go today. When you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt, and the world economy is gonna get turned. The Strait of Hormuz. I got nothing to lose. My guy with the booze will surely defuse. The Strait of Hormuz. I wish there were clues after lighting the fuse. I just couldn't refuse. I know the fog of war, how to twist the news. Blame the generals later when the tankers refuse. So tell Iran I got nothing to lose except the whole damn world in the Strait of Hormuz. I just couldn't refuse.
And there we have a little bit of satire and parody to get your day going. But let me tell you something. Okay, obviously that was satire. People were poking fun at Donald Trump because he has. Do you remember about a day and a half ago, he gave a very, very, very hard line with Iran. They were bombing Israel, and we're going to show you some of those videos today. They were bombing Israel to such a high degree, and Israel's Iron Dome, as it turns out, was never set up to defend against ballistic missiles. It's really there to defend against the rockets from Hezbollah. And the weapons that Iran has been firing over the last 72 hours on the nation of Israel are very big missiles. They are very powerful missiles, and they have been getting past and getting through the Iron Dome. Now, Donald Trump said a day and a half ago, he said if Iran does not immediately, within 48 hours, open up or reopen the Strait of Hormuz to the exact minute, 48 hours later of when he posted that on Truth Social, he said that he was going to bomb the energy and electrical and power grids that provide all the heat and air conditioning and light and power for the entire nation of Iran. And then this morning, mere hours from the time that he had set the deadline for himself, he inexplicably changed his mind and started talking about a peace deal with the nation of Iran. This is how it went down. Check this out.
Major development, President Trump taking to Truth Social, not only to say there are very good and productive conversations taking place between the United States and Iran, but he goes on to say he's ordered the Department of War to postpone for at least 5 days strikes against Iran's energy and power infrastructure. This comes after the president issued that ultimatum over the weekend about opening the Strait of Hormuz. We don't have any additional information at this point into the president's thinking about this, but this is a president.
So that was Fox News telling you that President Trump had changed his mind. I tried to find a video clip earlier today. I couldn't find it, but I recall that back in 2012 and 2013, remember when Barack Obama set that red line for the nation of Syria? And he said to Assad, who was the leader of Syria at the time, he said, if you use chemical weapons on your own people, I'm going to send in the United States military. Remember when Barack Obama said that? Well, as it turned out, Assad, he did use chemical weapons on his own people. He killed thousands of his own Syrian citizens with chemical weapons, and Barack Obama chickened out at the last minute. Well, Donald Trump had plenty to say about that, about the cowardly um, uh, going back on his own red line. And again, I didn't think of it quick enough. I wasn't able to find that video, but you can Google it. It's out there. Donald Trump was very critical in his first term of Barack Obama and his red line on Syria. Well, Donald Trump got in front of the cameras this morning, and this is what he had to say about canceling his red line with Iran.
So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
So Donald Trump says that the reason why he canceled his own red line was because Iran got in touch with him and said, we want a deal, we want to make peace. And Iran, they said nothing of the kind. Here is the website NDTV. Trump backed down. Iran media denies direct talks after U.S. holds off energy strikes. Trump, fearing Iran's response, backed down from his 48-hour ultimatum. Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting said in a post on X earlier today. And there's that post, and they said this. Shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he is deferring any and all strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure on productive resolution talks, Iran media reported denying any direct or intermediary communication with him. So Donald Trump says, now look, we know that the Iranians are horrific liars. We know that. They promised that they weren't going to develop nuclear weapons, and they've been trying to do that for 20 years. I think that they have one. That's just my own personal 2-cent opinion. I believe that Iran, in one of their underground bunkers, has at least one small to medium range nuclear weapon that they are saving to drop on top of the nation of Israel should they reach the point of no return. Again, that is my opinion. I'm not saying that I have that information, but I've been writing about Iran and their nuclear program since 2009. I wouldn't go so far as to call myself a Middle East expert, but I will say this. After writing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories about the nation of Iran and everything going on in the Middle East leading towards nuclear war, I think it would be a pretty safe bet that they have already developed small to medium range nuclear weapons. Now, they said that they had no missiles capable of reaching targets 4,000 kilometers away. You know what they did 2 days ago? They sent missiles that went as far away as Diego Garcia. And they promised that they did not have weapons that were capable of going that far. They only had defensive weapons. Defensive weapons are short-term, short-range weapons. But as it turns out, Iran lied. Could this guy, who looks like a pathological liar, could he be lying? I'm sure that he is. But you can't really trust the things that are coming out of the Trump administration either. Donald Trump has gone back and forth so many times on things that he have said, even within the context of the Iran war, today is day number 24 of World War Trump. And Donald Trump said originally, we've got to attack Iran because they're threatening Israel. Then he said, we have to attack Iran because they're weeks away from developing a nuclear weapon. And then he said, we have to go after Iran for regime change. We got to get rid of the Ayatollah. So even within the context of the last 24 days, President Trump has been changing his mind over and over and over again. So honestly, I don't believe anything that comes out of the nation of Iran, and I only believe less than half of what we hear coming out of Washington, D.C. You know what Pete Hegseth, the ultra macho, maximum lethality Secretary of War, had to say about Donald Trump 10 years ago? He called him an armchair tough guy who would back down when the going got hard. Take a listen to Pete Hegseth talking about President Trump.
It's typical Trump. All bluster, very little substance. He talks a tough game, but then when pressed on it, he's an armchair tough guy. I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain is not a war hero, yet he sought his own 5 military deferments.
So that's Pete Hegseth back in 2016. He is now Donald Trump's Secretary of War. And you know what Pete Hegseth said? He said that Donald Trump, when the going got tough, he would back down because he is an armchair tough guy. Is this what we're looking at? All the headlines right now are talking about nothing but the sudden and inexplicable reversal of policy that Donald Trump has issued regarding the war in Iran. Now, this is the NTEB podcast. I'm the podcaster, and let me give you my opinion on why he changed his mind, why he's not going after. You would think if Donald Trump did what he threatened to do a day and a half ago, you would think that the game would be over. Iran would have no lights, no power, and except for backup generators, they would have no ability to launch any strikes of any kind. But in the last 72 hours, this is what's been happening to the nation of Israel. They have been getting pummeled over and over and over again.
What's that? President Biden's remarks. I think it was less about what he didn't say than what he did say. What he didn't say was restraint. Again, raising the specter of the possibility that we may be looking at a more significant escalation, possibly in the form of a ground attack, as so many have been speculating in these last couple of days, troop and military hardware movement.
Now, that is, some guy took that on his cell phone watching CNN. You hear the baby in the background, very inappropriate. But what you're watching is Iranian cluster bombs exploding over Tel Aviv. Cluster bombs have been outlawed by 111 nations around the world. Would you like to take a guess which 2 of those nations decided not to outlaw cluster bombs? If you guessed Israel, you would be correct. And if you guessed the nation of Iran, you would be correct again. And so Iran has been fighting back with unconventional and non-conventional means, and they have been astonishingly successful. Look at that. This is one of the bombs that went off in the past week on a oil facility in Haifa, and that was a direct hit by an Iranian ballistic missile. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely terrifying. When we shared that on our X channel on Saturday, Within 24 hours, it was viewed 1.8 million times. Absolutely unbelievably incredible. And the world has been stunned. They have been shocked at what Iran has been able to do fighting back. Take a look at this video. This is somebody, it looks like she's a member of the IDF, and she is in Israel. I think she is in Tel Aviv. Watch this.
This is what's left of a civilian building here in Tel Aviv after a ballistic missile, an Iranian missile, hit it. This was a barrage of about 20 ballistic missiles, all targeting different civilian neighborhoods in Israel. Thankfully, the Israeli population is resilient and is listening to the Home Front Command guidelines. And thankfully, as far as we know now, there are no casualties.
So that was the after effects of a Iranian missile that landed over Tel Aviv over the weekend. And they got hit so unbelievably hard. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I hope this is, this is still sharing. For whatever reason, the software on this podcasting program is very funky today. But look at this. Iranian missiles on Israel cause massive destruction. Now, okay, that's not true. There were no deaths reported to Iranian bases, to Israeli military bases. But what is true is Iran has been unbelievably successful in firing back against the strikes of Israel. Now, I hate to scroll through my X feed because there is so much here that is not true. About 50 or 60% of everything that you see on X is absolutely not true, and you have to be very, very careful about what you comment on, what you post on, and what you repost. But I know that this is true. I know this. On Saturday, Iran was desperately trying to hit the nuclear weapons facility at Dimona in southern Israel. And that was just a little clip of a missile strike that took place there. So let me give you some of the headlines today, and let me show you what everybody is talking about. If you're just tuning in, Donald Trump, for whatever reason, he decided that he was going to cancel his 48-hour ultimatum to the nation of Iran. Now, this has nothing to do with today's podcast, but look at what happened in LaGuardia. A jet hits a fire truck. All the pilots are dead. 41 people injured. Control tower chaos at Newark. And you know what this makes me think of? This makes me think of Barack Obama's movie from 2023, Leave the World Behind. And I'll play that clip about the 3 stages in just a couple of minutes. But let's take a look at some of the headlines that have to do with what we're talking about today. How about this headline? This should really, really bother you. USA issues worldwide security alert urging caution as Iran-linked groups may target American interests. The U.S. State Department issued a worldwide security alert yesterday, urging Americans across the globe to be wary of threats from Iranian-linked groups. Quote, the Department of State advises Americans worldwide, especially in the Middle East, to exercise increased caution. Americans abroad should follow the guidance and security alerts by the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. So, you know why Donald Trump canceled his 48-hour ultimatum? Because Iran decided to fight back. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the United States of America. I think we have the greatest military in the world. But you know what those soldiers do? They do what they're ordered to do because that's what soldiers do. And we love the men and women of the U.S. military. We love our veterans. And we sell this hat. You can go to BibleBeliever.com and go to the hat section of our bookstore. And we have a lot of great Christian caps and patriot caps and all sorts of really good stuff. My dad was a two-time veteran of World War II in Korea. My brother is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. All my street preachers, when we started out in 2012, they were all U.S. veterans. Some of them were even active duty members. So we love the military, but the military does what the men who sit in the closed rooms and smoke the cigars tell them to do. And everybody was having a lot of fun, okay? Everybody thought it was great when in the first 24 hours of the Trump war with Iran and 5,000 strikes on Iranian targets and Israel with about 1,200 strikes, and everybody was having a great time bombing Iran. But then a couple of weeks later, Iran regrouped, they recalibrated, and they started firing back. Not at the United States, but they started firing back at Bahrain. They started firing back at Qatar. They started firing back at other locations across the Middle East. And they started firing back at the nation of Israel. And you know what happened? Israel watched all weekend long with their jaws scraping the ground, shocked and in disbelief that a nation that Benjamin Netanyahu had said was decimated, a nation that Donald Trump said had been obliterated. And then the world watched in unbelieving horror as that decimated and obliterated nation of Iran started firing back and firing back hard. Barron's magazine, this article from yesterday. Iranian missiles sow panic and destruction in Israeli towns. Sheltering from an Iranian missile attack on his town in southern Israel on Saturday, 17-year-old Ido Frankie heard terrifying blasts like he had never experienced before. An Iranian missile hit Frankie's town of Arad, hours after another one struck Dimona, home to a nuclear facility, wounding dozens and leaving an entire blocks of apartments with heavy damage. There was a boom, boom. My mother was screaming, he said, near the impact site, where an AFP correspondent saw damaged buildings and firefighters reported a blaze. This was terrifying. This town had never seen anything like this, the teenager told the AFP. So what's happening? Iran is firing back, and Israel doesn't like it. When Donald Trump gave his 48-hour ultimatum, let's see what they said. I don't think I have the link for that up, but Iran said that they would, if Donald Trump did that they would fire back in a way that he couldn't even begin to believe. I get it. Much of that is bluster. I get it. The Iranian regime are pathological liars. But you know what I think happened? I think everybody watched the missiles from Iran over the weekend breaking through Iron Dome and all the other things that Israel had. And I wonder why nobody is asking the question, why didn't the United States step in and help the nation of Israel when they were under such heavy, heavy, heavy bombardment over the weekend? That's a question that people, I don't think, are asking. Honestly, I would love to have an answer to that question. So let's catch up with an overview of what's going on. There is a lot going on, and our friend Jason A. has compiled another one of his fantastic videos showing you what's going on in the Middle East right now. And you're going to get the news coming in from all sides. And check this out, and we'll talk about it.
Now, we can bring you some important breaking news from the United States. The president, Donald Trump, has just posted on his Truth Social something that could turn out to be very important. We're going to read it in full. It's just come through. Let's read it together. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So this is a lengthy message. We're going to keep this up on the screen for a moment longer. There's a lot here to unpack. Now, remember, we are only hours away, or were, just up until this moment, only hours away from the end of a 48-hour deadline that Donald Trump had imposed on Iran. That deadline was very specific and very simple. Donald Trump had told Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours of me sending of the very minute when Donald Trump had sent his last Truth Social message, reopen it within 48 hours, or the U.S. would bomb Iran's power plants, which could have been a major escalation in this conflict.
This is an exciting moment, but then again, and I'll say this and then we'll move on to some more optimistic talk. There could be another post in 5 minutes that completely turns this one upside down.
So the countdown continues to tick towards Monday night. Now, the Strait of Hormuz supplies roughly 1/5 of.
So I like what that guy said. He said, hey, there could be another post in 5 minutes that's going to undo this post, you know, and that is the mercurial nature of Donald Trump. I used James 1:8 at the start of the broadcast today. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Trump is nothing if not a double-minded man. He is constantly contradicting himself.
Completely turns this one upside down.
So the countdown continues to tick towards Monday night. Now, the Strait of Hormuz supplies roughly 1/5 of the world's crude oil.
All right, now let me talk about the elephant in the room. And you can see, there it is right there. Fox News posted a screenshot of the threat that President Trump made against Iran on March 21st, the evening of March 21st, which was just a day and a half ago. If Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I first saw on Saturday night that threat that Trump made, I thought it was a little reckless. I thought it was a little bit over the top, and almost assuredly in response to what Iran was raining down on Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Dimona. But when I thought about it, I kind of liked it. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's my America. We stand up and we're tough and we're strong and we set a red line. And if you don't do it, then we're going to do exactly what we said that we're going to do, which is to obliterate all of Iran's power plants I kind of liked it. I thought it was strong. I thought it was kind of a leadership thing. But then 36 hours later, 40 hours later, to back down and then to pretend that you've been talking with Iran about ending the war, you know what? That makes you look weak. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. But to make a threat like that, a really big, large, over-the-top American threat, and then to go back on your own threat a day and a half later, well, let me ask you this question. If Joe Biden did that, or Kamala Harris did that, or if Bill Clinton or George Bush or any of them did something like that, you wouldn't think that that was a 4D chess strategy. You would be mad because you would look weak. You would look like you were hesitating. You would look like you were undecisive. You would look like you were looking for an exit from a war that you started and now you're in over your head and you want to get out of it. That's what it looks like to me.
Night. Now, the Strait of Hormuz supplies roughly 1/5 of the world's crude oil, but has been largely limited since the conflict. Now, the president has called NATO allies cowards for not sending warships to help defend the strait. He claims because the U.S. doesn't use the strait, this should be a global effort.
I don't see any room for diplomacy anymore because Donald Trump has been deceiving others and not keeping with his promises. And we experienced it in 2 times of negotiations, that while we were engaged in negotiation, they struck us.
Do you consider this an existential threat to the Islamic Republic?
It is an existential threat to the Islamic Republic, and therefore we have to stay with full might. The proof is
Now, like I've said many times before, because people like to twist my words and make me say things that I didn't actually say, I'm not rooting for the nation of Iran. I want the United States to 100% win this war and to bring it to an end. I don't want to see any more soldiers in America or Israel die in this needless, senseless, stupid war in the Middle East that Trump promised that he wouldn't bring us into. I don't want to see Iran win. Nobody wants to see Iran win. But Israel is shocked that they're doing as well as they are. Donald Trump is flabbergasted. He has no comprehension for what he's watching. He never thought this would happen in a million years. His advisors like Pete Hegseth and Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and Scott Bessent, they told him this will be just like Venezuela. But it wasn't. And then when U.S. soldiers started dying, the outcry started rising. I don't support this war, but I want America to win, and I want it to be over as quickly as possible.
Is in the pudding. What is important for us is the end of this game. And we are ready.
In reiteration of our previous warning, if any fuel or energy facilities in Iran are targeted, we will respond by targeting energy and technology institutions and desalination plants linked to America and the Zionist entity in the region.
It comes after President Donald Trump warned that he would destroy Iran's energy facilities if it does not open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. The waterway is a critical choke point for ships transporting oil and gas out of the Gulf.
It was the first time Iranian missiles penetrated Israel's air defense systems in the area. The attacks left dozens of people hurt and damaged several apartment buildings.
Basically, I was in the shelter and we heard like a very big boom.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu surveyed damage in one town on Sunday. He says this attack and an attempt by Tehran to hit the joint UK and US Diego Garcia Island military base is proof more allies need to join the US-Israeli military campaign.
It's time to see the leaders of the rest of the countries join up. I'm happy to say that I can see some of them beginning to move in that direction. but more is needed.
Late Saturday, President Trump issued an ultimatum to the regime: open the Strait of Hormuz or face total energy obliteration, with U.S. forces targeting Iranian power plants.
And reiterated a threat. This was from a colonel in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and specifically talked about desalinization and targeting desalination facilities in the Gulf. Now, the Gulf states are very dependent on desalination. Just to look at Qatar. Qatar gets 99% of its drinking water by extracting it from the sea and taking the salt out of it. Bahrain, more than 90% of its drinking water comes from desalination plants. So they're now talking about hitting each other where it hurts, in the same way that Vladimir Putin targeted the power grid in Ukraine because Ukraine is cold and freezing, and he would do these attacks in the winter to make the people suffer. President Trump is now threatening to squeeze the people of Iran and the government by cutting off the power, as Dominic was just saying, and the Iranians saying, well, we can make the deserts dry and cut off the drinking water.
So what Donald Trump is finding out, and what Pete Hegseth is finding out, and what the entire Trump administration is slowly learning, is that they may have prepared for this war for 6 months. Let's give them full credit. It's March 23rd. They may have prepared for this war for 15 months. But Iran has been preparing for this moment for 47 years. And Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, they do not understand at all the Iranian mindset. Already, Donald Trump is starting to blame other people like Pete Hegseth for this conflict. Check this out.
We can take a stop and make a little journey into the Middle East and eliminate a big problem. And Pete, I think you were the first one to speak up, and you said, let's do it, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. So we are now having really good discussions. They started last night, a little bit, the night before that.
So already Donald Trump is beginning to shift the blame and sow the blame. He wants to put it on Pete Hegseth. He wants to put it on Jared Kushner. He wants to put it on Steve Witkoff. He wants to put it anywhere but where it belongs, which is on himself. Trump started this war. This is an elective war. Just like there was no proof of weapons of mass destruction when Bush sent American soldiers into the Middle East that killed between 50 and 100,000 Muslims and Arabs. It killed about 300 U.S. soldiers, but it killed 100 times more of the people who lived in the region. And when all was said and done, do you think that they found any weapons of mass destruction? Do you think that they found nuclear bombs in Iraq? They did not. They did not exist. And I submit to you that they will not find, if they ever do get boots on the ground in Iran, they will not find traces of that. Even though I said it's my opinion, I feel that they've already developed a nuclear weapon. So we'll have to see how that goes.
For 48 years, they've been bad players, vicious players, and you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they got a nuclear weapon, I would say they would have used it within 24 hours after having it. And they would have had it if we didn't bomb them out from that great raid with the B-2 bombers 8 months ago or so. You would have had a nuclear war in the Middle East and maybe beyond. I think it would have hit Europe. Maybe not Ireland, but it would have hit Europe. I think you would have been a nice piece of it. It all gets you. It's big enough that you would have been affected. They would have hit Europe eventually.
One of the things we hear a lot about in these conflicts is an escalation ladder. And when Iran fired the intermediate range ballistic missiles at Diego Garcia that Trey mentioned, 4,000 kilometers from Iran. That was an escalation that not only stunned the U.S., but the entire world, because Iran had not publicly stated that they had anything that could go more than 2,000 kilometers. And yet here now we know they have two 4,000 kilometer range intermediate missiles that fortunately did not impact anything, but it's a warning. It's a message that they have these capabilities that they didn't publicly state. In fact, under President Obama's JCPOA, there was no restriction on Iran's missile capabilities. They said they weren't building it. Now we know. And what is the danger? Why is the world on notice? Because look, from Rome, Munich, Paris, London, Berlin, Oslo, all now within this radius, these capitals, in many of these capitals in these countries do not have the missile interceptor technology like we have and like Israel has. So should a nuclear-tipped intermediate range ballistic missile be fired at one of these capitals, it could change the trajectory of humanity as we know.
With respect.
So that's the current threat to Europe, another reason why Donald Trump may be backing down. But let's go to some breaking news. Lori just found me this link. I want you guys to see this. This is breaking news coming out of Iran's parliament. The speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, has rejected Donald Trump's claim that he has been negotiating with the United States of America. This is breaking news, so check this out.
More breaking news to bring you now from Iran. The Speaker of the country's parliament has directly contradicted U.S. claims that he's been negotiating with them. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf posted this on X in the last hour. Our people demand complete and remorseful punishment for the aggressors. All officials stand firmly behind their leader and people until this goal is achieved. No negotiations have been held with the US fake news. Fake news is to manipulate the financial and oil markets and escape the quagmire in which the US and Israel are trapped.
So there you have the official speaker of the Iranian parliament has said, quote, "No negotiations have been held with the U.S. fake news. It is to manipulate the financial and oil markets and escape the quagmire in which the United States and Israel are trapped."
Breaking news to bring you now.
And that's exactly the way that we see it as well, that Donald Trump is indeed trapped in a quagmire. Now, is it possible that the United States could really decimate the nation of Iran? Absolutely. Is it possible that Donald Trump could order the military to actually obliterate the nation of Iran so they can't fight a war or fire a missile of any kind at anybody? Sure, he could do that. The United States of America more than has that capability. But the problem is they're starting to realize that they are against an enemy who is willing to take you down as you take them down. And that is what we call mutually assured destruction. And Iran can't attack us in the same way that we can attack them. They don't have the overwhelming firepower that we do. But just remember, this is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. My dad's family got here in 1732. But for 250 years, we have celebrated the United States of America. But if you remember, the Revolutionary War fought by ragtag soldiers with rifles at half the time that didn't even have enough bullets for the soldiers to fire. They went up against the strongest navy and military that existed on planet Earth, Great Britain, England. And England was shocked beyond belief when they were not able to quickly win the war. And you know what they did? They gave up and they let us have America because it just wasn't worth the damage that we were doing. If they would have maintained what they were doing, they ultimately would have won. But the cost would have been so high, it wouldn't have been worth it. And this is what Iran is doing with Israel and the United States. Now, we have more to show you today, but Chaplain Huseth at the Baldwin County Sheriff's Correctional Center in Alabama, he wants us to know that they need Bibles. And it's not just these guys. Last night on the Bible study program, we told you that there are a number of jails and prisons right now that need Bibles. And last night we told you that Chaplain Gould from the Jones County Adult Correctional Facility in Mississippi, they reached out. Chaplain Matthew from the Bridgeport Correctional Center in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Chaplain Huseth from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Correctional Center. Chaplain Harris from the Virginia Beach Correctional Center. And we have about half a dozen different jails and prisons that we are raising money for right now. We're about halfway there. If you'd like to help us to do it, we still need to raise about $5,000 to send these Bibles out to the jails and prisons that I just mentioned to you. Please pray about being a part of this outreach. And if God has prospered you, we invite you to go to Bibles Behind Bars or nowtheendbegins.com and click on the donate button and help us. We very, very much need your prayer and your support. Thank you. All right, let's watch one or two more minutes of this compilation from Jason A. about what's going on right now in the Middle East.
To the other authorities here in the country, like the vice president, he tried to defend Iran's position, saying that this is self-defense and that Iran is under the aggression, and that's why it will be self-defending itself by launching attacks against regional power plants and, of course, Israel. So this is the picture in general with respect to this point precisely. But what's clear here is that this whole conflict is going towards a dead end. There's no possibility for the moment to get down the ladder, at least from what we're hearing from both sides. Each side is taking, or at least is escalating their own rhetoric.
And I'm going to stop that right there for a moment. I want to show you this over on X. And this is from Al Jazeera Breaking News. This is the official media outlet of the Muslim Middle East. Breaking news, Iran says that the 77th wave of strikes is underway on U.S. and Israel military bases in the Gulf. And let's go to the website and see if we can see what's going on. Iran says that no negotiations or discussions with the United States have taken place since the start of the war. They are basically saying that Donald Trump is making up the entire thing. And here we have it. Iran, and this is breaking news happening right now. Iran says 77th wave of strikes underway on Israel and the Gulf region. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it has launched its 77th wave of strikes targeting Israel and U.S. military bases in the Middle East. Attacks, quote, targeted the north, center, and south of Israel using super heavy and point-and-shoot systems, Khyber-shaken and destructive drones, its spokesperson said in a statement carried by Iran's Tasnim news agency. The IRGC said it also targeted the U.S. bases of Ali al-Salem in Kuwait, Prince Sultan in Saudi Arabia, and Al Dhafra in the United States, the United Arab Emirates. Trump's contradictory behavior will not lead us to neglect the war front and continue the battle. So these are the things that are taking place right now. Here we have, let's see what Donald Trump is saying
Hopefully
here.
this will be possible, but no matter what, we'll ensure that Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. They would have had one if we allowed the Obama deal to stand. That was the Iran nuclear deal, they called it. They would have had one. Marcia 3. Well, I tell you what, Martha, we would have nuclear weapons up there when, would you say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago?
All right, so that's just Donald Trump blaming Barack Obama for who knows what he's blaming him for. He never likes to take the blame for anything. But here you can see in our, and if you're on social media, we invite you to, we just passed 50,000 followers, almost at 51,000 followers. If you are on social media, if you are on X, we invite you to come and join us on social media as well. Now, I'm going to end on this happy note. I made this video this morning when Lori and I were going into the podcast studio, and we got a brand new flag for the front, and we got it from the Allegiance Flag Supply Company, and it's very high quality, not expensive either, just a beautifully made flag. And a lot of people ask us about all the flags that we display at the front of the bookstore. Now, we invite you to come to Palatka. We're at 209 North 4th Street in the North Historic District of beautiful downtown Palatka, Florida. And we have 4 large rooms filled to overflowing with everything for the Bible believer. We have King James Bibles, Ruckman Bibles. Oh, well, you know the drill. But when we were going into the studio, and you can visit us online at www.biblebeliever.com. But when we were going into the studio this morning, I put up the new American flag, and I just wanted to take a little video and check this out. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick update from the Bible Believers bookstore. We just got this brand new American flag from the Allegiance Flag Company. Beautiful, high quality, well-made flag. And we just put it up just moments ago. At the Bible Believers bookstore, we are Bible-believing Christians. And we pray for the Jewish people. We support the nation of Israel. And we pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We are happy that God has allowed us to live in the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America, as we celebrate our 250th anniversary. And we stand as Bible-believing Baptists on the book, the blood, and the blessed hope. Amen. And that was just a quick little video that I made this morning, just kind of celebrating the new flag that we put up. And believe me, those flags are absolute attention getters, and it draws people in. And when they come in, we have, if they're saved, they feel like they've gone to Bible believer heaven. And if they're not saved, well, many times we've given out free Bibles to people who walk through the door. We've answered so many questions. Please continue to pray for the ministry of the bookstore. This is where the free Bible program operates. This is where the Bibles Behind Bars program operates. This obviously is where the bookstore lives. And this is our point of contact with the town. And this is how we minister to people here. And we support women's shelters. We support food kitchens. We support all sorts of different outreach activities here. And please pray for us and come visit us to see what God is doing here. And with that, we are out of time for today. Again, I apologize that we were not able to do this program live. Please pray that I'll be able to figure out what went wrong with the software and that we'll be able to get it fixed in time for the Wednesday podcast. And we will keep you up to date with any breaking news through nowtheendbegins.com. Have a great day, everybody.